I call the member for Aston.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And can I start by commending the member for Forrest's contribution there in outlining particularly the impact of this bill on regional and rural students, and she's a very strong advocate in this parliament for those students particularly. This bill, as you'd be aware, Madam Deputy Speaker, reinstates the student contribution amount for mathematics, statistics and science units of study to its pre-2009 levels for domestic students commencing a course of study on or after the 1st of January of 2013. It also removes the eligibility for Commonwealth-supported places and the higher education loan program schemes for Australian citizens who commence a course of study after the 1st of January 2013 and do not intend to reside in Australia during the course of study. Now, the second purpose of this bill, to capture those students who do not intend to reside in Australia, I think is a step in the right direction. Our focus should rightly be on trying to support students who want to study here and want to pursue their careers here and make a contribution back to our nation. And so we support the intent of that measure. But I'd like to focus on the first purpose of the bill, which is the removal of the HEX discount for maths, science and statistics courses. Now, as you'd be aware, this HEX discount for maths, science and statistics courses was introduced by the Rudd government in December 2008, and it took effect on the 1st of January 2009. And it was while the now Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, was the Education Minister. And the aim of providing the discount was to encourage more students to undertake these courses, because indeed we do have a shortage of students undertaking these courses. The government's now reversing that decision 3 years later, and this reversal is effective from the 1st of January next year. The stated reason, as the new Education Minister has explained to us for reversing this decision, is because the measure was not working. That is the stated reason that they have given to us. They've said that there's been no change in terms of the numbers of students studying those subject areas at universities, and hence they're going to abolish the HEX discounts. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, some of the evidence actually suggests, some of the evidence put forward by some people suggests that the measure was in fact working, and indeed the Parliamentary Library looked into this question and produced this report. Are maths and science enrolments increasing? And it's dated from the December 2nd, 2011. And they actually concluded that the measures which Mr Rudd introduced and Ms Gillard introduced had an immediate effect. And they said that in 2009, undergraduate applications for natural and physical sciences increased by 17% on 2008 and increased again in 2010 by 13%. And they said that this reversed the declines from the previous years, just in those couple of years. It also said that the increases in applications carried over to increasing in enrolments. So, for example, the commencing bachelor places in all science subjects showed an increase of 8.7% in 2009 and 19.4% in 2010, when the overall increase in undergraduate student numbers was only 15%. So at least the Parliamentary Library, Madam Deputy Speaker, actually believed that this measure did make a difference in terms of increasing the number of applicants and number of people who were studying maths and science and statistics at the university. I suggest, Madam Deputy Speaker, that the reason that the government is abolishing the discounts is not because the program didn't work. I think they're using that as an excuse, frankly. I think that the real reason for the measure that we are debating today and that is contained within this bill is because the government has wasted so much money over the last 5 years that they are now scrambling to try to find savings in every single portfolio to bring some resemblance of integrity back to the budget for next year. That is the real reason that we're debating this bill right now, because the government over the last 5 years, as you know, Madam Deputy Speaker, and as every Australian knows, has wasted billions upon billions of dollars on all sorts of wasteful programs. I mean, we know about the pink bat scheme. Billions wasted to put pink bats into people's roofs, and then billions spent to take the pink bats out of people's roofs. We know about the Green Loans program. We know about the school halls which were built at double the price as what they should be built. We know about set-top boxes being installed into people's houses, costing $700 per set-top box, when you can get one from Harvey Norman for $150. Of course, we know about the shambolic border protection regime, which is wasting billions of dollars when previously our border protection system only cost us in the vicinity of $80 or so million. And of course, we know about the $1,000 cheques that were sent to dead people and were sent to family pets. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is the real reason.
Thank you, Member. Would you just resume your seat? Yes, Member for Deakin.
The point of order is relevance. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Well, thank you. I'll listen more carefully. Go ahead, please, Member for Aston.
Deputy Speaker, because the reason for this bill in front of us is because the government has wasted so much money. They've brought the debt back, brought the net debt figure up to $145 billion, that we now have to cut programs, many of which have actually been effective. Now, the member for Fadden yesterday was reminding us of the fact that the government is cutting back on the Defence Force personnel's trip at Christmas time to see their families. We've wasted billions of dollars on pink bats, but they're now going after the Defence Force personnel and preventing them from being able to go home to their families at Christmas time. And this bill in front of us is in a similar vein, Madam Deputy Speaker, where they're trying to save $1 billion over the next 4 years, and they have to make these savings because we have net debt of $145 billion, we have net interest payments of $8 billion per annum, and we just have waste after waste after waste, which this government has made over the last 5 years. That is why this point is relevant, Madam Deputy Speaker. Never have we had such a wasteful government in the history of this federation. Madam Deputy Speaker, the other points I'd like to make, and I reinforce the member for Forrest's comments about this bill being introduced and in part being retrospective for some students, because it takes effect from the 1st of January next year and takes effect upon some students who are now studying maths and science and statistics, who only undertook to take those courses because of the discounts which were in place. And they thought that those discounts would be there for the duration of their course. But now the government is coming in and saying, actually, despite you having made your course selections, in part on the basis of those discounts, midway through we are going to change that policy. Madam Deputy Speaker, that's not a good way to conduct public policy, but it's the type of thing that we have come to expect from this government. Madam Deputy Speaker, the bigger issue that this bill brings up, and I'd like to spend the remaining time that I have available talking about this issue, is that we do need more maths and science graduates. That's the issue which this brings up, and how do we achieve this? And in some respects, the issue, though, doesn't start at the university level. It actually starts before there, at the school level, because we simply do not have enough students at the Year 12 level anymore who are studying the tougher maths and science and biology type of subjects. And if you look across the statistics over the last 2 decades, you see that the number of Year 12 graduates in those areas has declined markedly. For example, the Chief Scientist tabled a report merely a couple of months ago and looked into this question. And he found that between 1992 and 2009, the proportion of Year 12 students across Australia taking physics, chemistry and biology fell by 31%, 23% and 32% respectively. Incredible drops in the course of 2 decades. And this is the real nub of the problem, Madam Deputy Speaker, because if you haven't got the people who are studying it at the high school level, then they won't be going on and studying it at the university level. And as the Chief Scientist said in his report, these science and maths subjects are fundamental to shaping the future of Australia and the future of the world. They provide enabling skills and knowledge that increasingly underpin many professions and trades and the skills of a technologically based workforce. Now, there are many reasons why people aren't studying these tougher subjects of maths and science anymore at the Year 12 level. I hear anecdotally in my schools and in my electorate that part of the reason is that they are indeed harder subjects and that other subjects can be done and count equally towards the student's ATAR score to get into the university course that they like. I think that needs to be looked at and a proper examination done on that particular matter. But I think the bigger reason for it is that we have a severe shortage of passionate maths and science teachers in our schools. And again, the Chief Scientist pointed this out in his report, which was tabled a couple of months ago, and he stated in that inspirational teaching was time and time again identified as the key to future study choices of students. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, getting higher quality people into teaching, and particularly into maths and science teaching, is a subject which I have spoken about at length in this chamber and I've written about at length as well. I'm greatly concerned generally about the decline in the quality of the applicants going into teacher courses, and I'm particularly concerned about the decline in the maths and science graduates going into teaching. And in fact, in 2010, only 550 students enrolled in graduate diploma of education courses had a science degree. 550. Out of nearly 73,000 students studying that year in teacher training courses. It's remarkable, Madam Deputy Speaker, that there's so few. So what can we do about this? That's the real question. That's what we should be focused on. That's what the government should be focused upon. How do we get outstanding, passionate maths and science teachers into our classroom? Now, the Chief Scientist, again, in his report, went through and outlined a number of recommendations. And those recommendations should be closely looked at, Madam Deputy Speaker. And he points out some of the professional development needed, some of the careers choices, some of the careers advice which needs to be improved. He talks about professional development standards in that report. I think, however, that the nub of the issue goes beyond that, and that we do need to look at the salary structures for maths and science teachers, and in particular giving discretion for school principals to be able to offer higher salaries for maths and science teachers if they indeed have a shortage of such teachers in their school. This was something that the Productivity Commission looked at and what they recommended in their report, which they handed down earlier this year, and it's something that needs to be done. The other thing which I would raise here is that we need to be looking at how we can fast-track outstanding maths and science graduates into the classroom. And I've been involved with a program called the Teach for Australia program, and I remain on its board. And it targets outstanding non-teacher graduates and fast-tracks them into the classroom. And it's had fantastic success, Madam Deputy Speaker. But one of the problems that we've had with this program is that we've had some brilliant applicants who want to teach maths and science who are prevented from doing so. And let me just give you one example. I mean, here's a person who was a Fulbright scholar who completed a PhD at Yale University in econometrics, but he was approved only to teach legal studies and humanities and not approved to teach mathematics, because the bureaucracy and the clipboard checkers said that he didn't have sufficient qualifications to teach maths. Now, they're exactly the type of people that we want in the classroom to teach mathematics. A Fulbright scholar, for goodness sake, in econometrics from Yale University. Now, we need to fix up these problems and we need to encourage similar people likewise to be in our
Member's
classrooms.
time has expired.